Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are undertaking quite a focused exploration, a single deep dive right into the heart of the gospel.
We are. Mark chapter 15.
Exactly. And structurally, emotionally, this chapter feels like the real climax, doesn't it? The dark, solemn peak of Mark's very fast-paced story.
It absolutely is. If chapter 14 set up the betrayal and the arrest, well, Mark 15 wastes no time. It throws us straight into the final hours, the execution.
And we're leaning heavily today on the detailed work from the You Need Faith in Jesus team series for this analysis.
That's right. Their material gives us, and you listening, a fantastic shortcut, really, to grasp the historical depth, the specific details of this absolute pivotal chapter.
So our mission today is pretty clear. We're going to analyze the Roman trial, Jesus before Pilate, then the crucifixion itself, the sheer brutality of it,
The death, the events surrounding
and the burial. And the sources really stress Mark's style here, vivid, unflinching detail.
Yes, and many scholars believe that reflects Peter's eyewitness memory. It has that raw, immediate feel to it.
Which leads us to this core theme, this profound irony driving the whole chapter.
Precisely. It's all about Jesus, the suffering servant, reaching this absolute point of humiliation. Weakness, you'd think.
But paradoxically,
That's the key word. Paradoxically, that moment of ultimate agony, it leads directly to the foundational confession of the whole gospel.
and not from a disciple.
No, from a Roman centurion,
Yeah.
a hardened soldier, a Gentile. Seeing the truth right there. It fulfills what Mark set out in chapter 1, verse 1, the beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God.
Incredible. So for you studying along with us, we really encourage you to approach this not just for information, but be ready, to internalize it, to act on the word.
Yes, understanding the cross. It's foundational. We want this knowledge to really translate into meaningful understanding application in your life.
Okay, let's jump into section 1, the Roman trial, Jesus before Pilate, Mark chapter 15, verses 1 to 15.
And it starts immediately. Verse 1 says, "And straightway in the morning." There's that marked urgency again.
Right. The chief priests held a consultation with the elders and scribes and the whole council and bound Jesus and carried him away and delivered him to Pilate. So the shift is instant. Jewish court to Roman court.
It had to be. It's a necessary legal pivot. The Sanhedrin had condemned him overnight for blasphemy, a religious charge.
But under Roman occupation,
They didn't have the ipis the right of the sword, the power to execute.
so they couldn't carry out the death penalty themselves.
Exactly. So to get the death sentence they wanted, they had to change the charge entirely. From religion, which Pilate wouldn't care much about,
To politics.
to politics. Sedition. Claim to be a king, some opposing Caesar, that's a capital crime Rome would act on.
And Pilate sees this immediately. Verse 2, his question cuts right to it. Art thou the king of the Jews?
He goes straight for the political jugular. Is this man an insurrectionist? A threat to Roman order? That's Pilate's only real concern here.
Jesus' answer, thou sayest it. It sounds like a yes, but it's more complicated, isn't it?
Oh, very much so. It's an affirmation. Yes, he accepts the title. But it's also a kind of clarification. It's like saying, you've used that term, but your understanding of king is, well, limited, worldly.
So he's affirming his kingship, but not in the way Pilate or even the Sanhedrin is thinking, not a military threat.
Precisely. It takes the immediate political pressure off, slightly, though Pilate still senses the danger, the undercurrents.
But the chief priests, they don't let up. Verse 3, they're just bombarding Pilate with accusations. Vehemently, Mark says.
They're desperate now, trying to bury him under sheer volume. And this is where Jesus' reaction is just stunning.
His silence. Verses 4 and 5, Pilate pushes him. Answerest thou nothing? Behold how many things they witness against thee.
And Jesus says nothing, just dignified silence in the face of all these lies.
Why? From a purely strategic viewpoint, defending himself seems logical.
But his strategy wasn't worldly. That silence, it was an act of fulfillment. It points directly back to the suffering servant in Isaiah.
Isaiah chapter 53, verse 7.
Exactly. He was oppressed, and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. It's the deliberate choice of the sacrificial lamb.
And the effect on Pilate.
Verse 5 says Pilate marveled. He was amazed. This wasn't the reaction he expected from someone facing death. Not defiance, not begging, just silence. It clearly unsettled him.
That leads us to this awful choice involving Barabbas. Verses 6 and 7 mention this Passover custom.
Yeah, a gesture of goodwill from the governor. Release one Jewish prisoner. Probably a political move to keep the peace during a volatile festival.
Pilate thinks he sees an out here, maybe. Offer them Jesus versus Barabbas.
And look who Barabbas was. Verse 7 is explicit. He lay bound with them that had made insurrection with him, who had committed murder in the insurrection.
So he's not just a petty criminal, he's a violent revolutionary, a murderer, the very thing they were falsely accusing Jesus of being.
The irony is just dripping, isn't it? And Pilate knew what was really going on. Verse 10 says he knew that the chief priests had delivered him for envy. He wasn't fooled by their sudden concern for Roman law.
But the priests were good at manipulating the crowd. Verse 11 says they moved the people to ask for Barabbas instead.
They whipped them up, turned public opinion on a dime. It shows how easily a crowd can be swayed by powerful voices away from reason.
So Pilate makes one last attempt. Verse 12, he asks, "What will ye then that I shall do unto him whom ye call the King of the Jews?" He even uses their supposed title for him.
He's trying to prick their conscience, maybe their national pride, force them to choose between this king and a known killer.
But it backfires completely. The mob's response.
Crucify him. Unanimous, brutal. They're demanding the most shameful, agonizing death Rome had.
And Mark, in verse 15, lays the final decision squarely on Pilate's motivation.
And so Pilate, willing to content the people, there it is, political expediency, appeasing the mob over justice.
Released Barabbas unto them and delivered Jesus when he had scourged him to be crucified.
He chose stability, or what he thought was stability, over truth. Release the guilty, condemn the innocent. But notice that chilling phrase, when he had scourged him.
That wasn't just a beating, was it?
No. Scourging, the flagrum, was horrific. A whip with multiple strands embedded with bone, metal. It was designed to rip flesh, tear muscle.
Why? What was the purpose beyond just pain?
It was meant to severely weaken the victim before crucifixion, make them bleed profusely, induce shock. Often people died from the scourging alone. It was part of the process, ensuring the eventual crucifixion wouldn't take too long while maximizing agony, state-sanctioned torture.
Okay, so after that horrific scourging, the scene shifts inside to the Praetorium. Verse 16, this is the governor's headquarters.
That's right, the center of Roman authority there. And it says they call together the whole band.
The whole band? How many soldiers are we talking about?
A cohort. Could be up to 600 men. This isn't just a few guards getting out of hand. This is an organized, almost ritualistic humiliation put on for the whole garrison.
And they stage this cruel parody. Verses 17 to 19 detail it. The purple robe.
The color of royalty, of the emperor. They're mocking his claim.
It's a crown of thorns.
Woven together and forced onto his head. Not just symbolic, but agonizingly painful.
And the reed for his scepter.
A weak, common plant. And then they use it to hit him on the head, driving the thorns deeper. Every element is designed to mock his kingship.
And the actions, the fake, "Hail, King of the Jews," the spitting, kneeling, and false worship.
It's pure degradation. Spitting was the ultimate insult. The bowing mocks his authority. It's psychological torture piled onto the physical. They're attacking his very identity.
And again, Jesus endures this, the true king, accepting the world's absolute scorn.
Yes. And in doing so, he reveals a different kind of kingship, a different kind of power. Not power through force, like these soldiers understood, but power through suffering, through submission. It's the core paradox Mark keeps showing us. He lets them strip him bare, literally and figuratively, to show something much deeper.
Then they lead him out. Section 3, the journey to the cross, verses 21 to 32. Verse 21 makes it clear the scourging took its toll. He can't carry the crossbeam.
He's too weakened, which was common, actually. So the soldiers do, what soldiers do they compel someone? Force him.
Simon of Cyrene, just a passerby.
Coming out of the country. From Cyrene, North Africa. Just an ordinary man caught up in this extraordinary divine moment, forced to carry the instrument of execution for the Son of God.
And Mark adds this detail, the father of Alexander and Rufus. Why include their names? Especially for Mark's Roman readers.
That's a fascinating piece of evidence. It strongly suggests that Alexander and Rufus were known figures in the early Roman church, the community Mark was writing for.
So they'd know who Simon was through his sons.
Exactly. Particularly Rufus, who Paul greets in Romans chapter 16, verse 13. Salute Rufus, chosen in the Lord, and his mother and mine. It makes the story immediate, personal, verifiable for Mark's first audience. This isn't some vague legend. It involves people they knew.
Incredible connection. They arrive at Golgotha, verse 22. Mark translates it, the place of a skull.
The execution site, outside the city walls, a place of death and uncleanness.
And before the crucifixion itself, verse 23, they offer him something. Wine mingled with myrrh.
Right. Myrrh acted as a kind of mild anesthetic, a painkiller, a gesture, maybe of rough mercy, to dull the senses before the agony of nailing.
But Jesus refuses it. He received it not. Why?
He chose to face the full reality of the cross, the full weight of the suffering, with a clear mind. He was bearing the sin of the world, the curse. He wouldn't dull that experience. He had to be fully conscious, fully present for the atonement he was making.
Then verse 24, stark, simple. And when they had crucified him.
Just those words, covering an act of unimaginable brutality.
And immediately after, the soldiers are dividing his clothes, casting lots upon them.
Even in their casual cruelty, prophecy unfolds. This is a direct fulfillment of Psalm chapter 22, verse 18. They part my garments among them and cast lots upon my vesture. It shows God's sovereignty even over the actions of his enemies.
Mark gives us the time, the third hour, verse 25. That's 9 a.m.
Yes. And then the inscription, verse 26, the titulus, the King of the Jews.
Pilate's final sarcastic message to the Jewish leaders.
Probably his intent, yes, a political statement. But ironically, it proclaims the absolute truth about who Jesus is, right there above his head as he dies.
And the company he keeps, verse 27. With him they crucify two thieves.
Again, prophecy fulfilled. Isaiah chapter 53, verse 12, he was numbered with the transgressors. He dies not in noble isolation, but literally positioned between criminals, taking the place of the guilty.
But the humiliation isn't over. Verses 29 to 32 describe universal mockery. Passers-by.
They wag their heads, repeating the false charge about destroying the temple. Save thyself and come down from the cross.
The chief priests and scribes join in, mocking among themselves.
Yes, challenging him. Let Christ, the King of Israel, descend now from the cross that we may see and believe. They still demand a sign, a spectacle, completely missing the true sign right before them.
And even, Mark notes, the criminals crucified with him initially joined in the jeering.
It's total rejection. Roman state, Jewish religious leaders, common people, even fellow criminals. Everyone turns against him.
Then, a dramatic shift. Section 4, the death, verses 33 to 41. At verse 33, something supernatural happens.
Yes. And when the 6th hour was come, that's noon, there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. 3 hours of unnatural darkness.
From noon to 3 p.m., what does this signify?
It's profound. Biblically, darkness often signals judgment. Think of the plague on Egypt. Here, it's like the sky itself is reflecting the moment. The Son of God is bearing the judgment for the world's sin.
God the Father turning away, in a sense.
In the sense that the full weight of sin, which separates from God, is being placed on Jesus. Nature itself is mourning, recoiling from what's happening to its creator. It's a cosmic sign of the gravity of the moment.
And at the end of that darkness, the 9th hour, 3 p.m., comes this cry, verse 34.
The cry of ultimate agony, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. Mark provides the translation from Aramaic. My God, why hast thou forsaken me?
This isn't just physical pain speaking, is it?
No, this is the spiritual climax. This is the sin bearer experiencing the true horror of sin, separation from the Father. Quoting Psalm 22, he voices the depth of the desolation. He feels as he takes our place, absorbs our brokenness. For the first and only time, the eternal fellowship is ruptured.
The cost of atonement.
Exactly. It's the very heart of the substitution.
And some bystanders tragically misunderstand. They think he's calling Elijah.
Yeah, a misunderstanding of the Aramaic, perhaps, missing the profound theological depth of his cry.
Then, the end, verse 37, and Jesus cried with a loud voice and gave up the ghost.
That loud voice is significant. A man dying of crucifixion, typically weakened by suffocation, shouldn't be able to cry out powerfully. It suggests volition, control, and gave up the ghost. He yielded his spirit. He wasn't just overcome, he completed his work and willingly died. A victor's death, not just a victim's.
And at that precise moment, verse 38, another supernatural event.
And the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom.
This is huge. Explain the significance of the temple veil.
It was this massive, thick curtain separating the holy place from the most holy place, the Holy of Holies, where God's presence was understood to dwell. It symbolized the barrier sin created between humanity and a holy God. Only the high priest could go behind it once a year.
And it tore from the top to the bottom. Why is that detail important?
It signifies it was God's doing, not torn by human hands from below, but ripped supernaturally from above. At the moment of Christ's death, the barrier is gone. Access to God's presence is now open to everyone, Jew and Gentile, through faith in Christ's sacrifice. The old system is finished.
Which leads directly to this incredible confession in verse 39 from the Roman centurion.
The centurion, Mark calls him, using the Latin term. The officer in charge of the execution squad. A man presumably hardened by violence, by Roman paganism.
What makes him confess?
Mark says it was seeing how Jesus died. when the centurion, which stood over against him, saw that he so cried out and gave up the ghost. It was the manner of his death, the loud cry, the willing surrender, perhaps combined with the darkness and the earthquake mentioned in Matthew's account. Something about the divine dignity and power in that moment shattered his worldview.
And his words.
Truly, this man was the Son of God. It's the climax of Mark's Gospel, the first human character in the Passion story to fully grasp and declare Jesus' true identity. And he's a Gentile, an outsider, an executioner. The irony is overwhelming.
While the disciples fled, some remained. Verses 40 and 41 mention the women.
Yes. Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James the Less, and Joseph and Salome, they had followed him, supported him in Galilee. Now they watched from a distance, faithful witnesses to his death.
Their presence is crucial, isn't it?
Absolutely. They are the link. They see him die, they will see him buried, and they will be the first witnesses to the resurrection. Their faithfulness anchors the narrative.
Okay, section 5, the burial. Verses 42 to 47. The timing is urgent now. Verse 42, it's evening, the day of preparation.
Meaning, Friday evening, just before the Sabbath begins at sundown. Jewish law forbade handling dead bodies or doing work on the Sabbath, so there's a race against time.
And Joseph of Arimathea steps forward. Verse 43 describes him.
An honorable counselor, a respected member of the Sanhedrin, the very council that condemned Jesus. But Mark adds, he waited for the kingdom of God. A secret believer, perhaps.
And he does something incredibly brave. He goes boldly unto Pilate to ask for Jesus' body. Why was that so bold?
Requesting the body of an executed enemy of the state, especially one condemned for sedition. It was identifying himself publicly with Jesus. It risked his reputation, his position on the council, possibly even his safety. He overcomes the fear that paralyzed the others.
Pilate is surprised, verse 44. Surprised Jesus is already dead.
Yes, crucifixion usually took much longer. Pilate marveled, so he double checks. He calls the centurion the very man who just confessed to confirm the death.
So the death is officially verified by a Roman officer.
Crucial detail. It counters any later claims that Jesus didn't really die, that he just fainted. Once confirmed, verse 45, Pilate grants the body to Joseph.
Joseph then acts quickly and respectfully, verse 46.
He buys fine linen for a shroud, takes the body down, imagine that task, wraps it carefully, and lays it in a sepulcher which was hewn out of a rock.
A new tomb, Matthew and John specify.
Yes, which is important. No confusion about whose body might be missing later. And then Joseph rolled a stone under the door of the sepulcher,
Sealing the tomb, a large, heavy stone.
making it secure. It emphasizes the finality of the burial. He is dead, he is buried, the tomb is sealed. It perfectly sets the stage for the impossibility of what happens next.
And Mark ends the chapter, verse 47, by focusing again on the women.
And Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, beheld where he was laid.
They are the witnesses. They see the exact location.
Their vigil continues. They know precisely which tomb it is. They see the stone rolled. Their testimony will be vital for confirming the empty tomb in the next chapter. They anchor the end of this chapter, preparing us for the beginning of the next.
What a chapter. This deep dive into Mark 15, it takes us from Pilate's political maneuvering and weakness
Right through the soldiers' horrific mockery.
to the cosmic events of the crucifixion, the darkness, the cry, the torn veil.
Culminating in that stunning confession from the centurion. It's an incredibly powerful narrative arc.
The big takeaway really has to be that central theme, right? The victory through humiliation.
Absolutely. The suffering servant fulfills his mission. His death isn't defeat. It's the triumph that satisfies God's judgment and, crucially, throws open the door into God's presence for us. That torn veil says it all.
And hopefully this detailed look helps you grasp the depth of that sacrifice.
That's the goal. And remember, as part of the You Need Faith in Jesus team resources, use those flashcards for this chapter. They really help lock in the key events, the verses, the fulfillments.
Don't just hear it, review it. And the quiz reminders too. Test yourself. Make sure it's sinking in.
Definitely. And your homework, of course, is to read ahead. Get into Mark chapter 16 for our next deep dive. Prepare yourself for what comes after the sealed tomb.
So the final thought to leave you with, let's go back to that centurion. Think about it. A Roman soldier, steeped in military discipline, pagan gods, the brutality of empire. What was it really in the way Jesus died that shattered all of that, that made him see and confess divine truth on the spot?
What testimony beyond words broke through those hardened cultural and military barriers?
What stands out most to you about that moment? Something to ponder. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.